right, welcome in on this Friday on the Maize and Blue Review. It is a special guest, if you're listening on the pod, former Wolverine Jake Butt joining us. If you're watching on the video, you see him there, and it's great to have him on this Friday. Jake, how are you?
Doing great. Like we were talking in the pre-show, man. We're talking Michigan football, and what better year to talk Michigan football, a chance to go play right through the heart of the SEC. Can we go get a national championship? Take out Georgia, take out Bama. No one's given us a chance, but no one's given us a chance all year. So I'm excited to dive into it a little bit.
Yeah, if the part about nobody giving Michigan a chance, I don't know how many people were giving Michigan a chance. I know there were a few that were coming around against Ohio State this year, but because of, what's happened really in the 21st century, there were people that were doubting, Michigan going into that game. And if they played like they did against Ohio State, and the way they took it into Indianapolis against Iowa, they'll have a shot against Georgia. I don't care what Georgia's bringing to the table. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, I completely agree. I think there's, and rightfully so, maybe there is a little bit of SEC bias where they've had so much success over the years that they earn the right to be the favorite. Sure, I'm cool with that. But this is Michigan's year. It seems like they've constantly broke down barriers and misconceptions and rebuilt. They've rebuilt what they've been able to do. And, here's the thing about Georgia. Georgia's got a top-ranked defense, number 2 in the country. But they haven't exactly faced big-time offenses either. And obviously, Bama's a big-time offense, and Bama was able to expose them in certain parts of the game. Offensively, it's not like their offense is a big-time powerhouse. I think we match up pretty well. I mean, our MO is running the ball. Can we displace Jordan Davis there in the heart of their defense will be the story of the day. But overall, I think there will not be a blowout either way. I think Michigan's got a really good shot to go down there and win that game.
Displacing a guy that's 6'6", 350, 360, that sounds like a tall task. Generally taking a look at it, if you're kind of I don't know if you even have to be a novice. I think just maybe you watch football and you say, man, Michigan really does, like you said, they like to run of the football. And that Georgia defense, that doesn't sound like the greatest matchup for Michigan. It's going to they're going to have to rely more on the passing game. That just seems pretty basic. But you know what? I looked at the Wisconsin actually has a better statistically run defense, and Corum or Haskins had over 50 yards against the Badger defense, and yet they continued to run, and it still set up their passing game, and they had success there. So I think they might not run for 100 yards or 300 yards total, like they did nearly against Ohio State. But, I don't think they're scared of this matchup and scared of the Georgia defense.
No, I don't think you can expect this to be our most explosive offensive performance just knowing the opponent we're going against. But an opponent like Georgia and similar to Wisconsin is, neither of those guys had above 50 yards. You can't get bored with the run. You can't abandon it if you're only clipping 3, 4, 5-yard runs. Eventually you're going to crack it and wear it out. Like I look at a guy like Jordan Davis. Typically when somebody's an explosive athlete, they got a big time haymaker punch. But if you're so explosive, typically you don't have a lot of endurance. So we're not talking about just running right up the middle, right through the heart of their defense. You've seen Gaddis implement a lot of counters late in the season, wide receiver reverses, jet sweeps. The motions are all window dressing, different ways. So you're still committing to the run, but having multiple options out of the same look, it makes it a little tougher on the defense. So if you can get Jordan Davis into 7, 8, and 9 play drives, that'll wear on anybody. I think that's your best chance. And then obviously having timely play action. If you don't commit to the run, the play actions are useless. Even if you're only getting 3 to 5 yards, eventually, those safeties are going to come up. They're going to get a little nosy. That's when you have a chance to have success in the play action game. Which has been, well used by Michigan, especially late down the stretch.
Yeah, and one thing about Haskins, if it's a 3rd and short, 4th and 1, he seems, whether it's diving over the pile or just having a nose for that first down, he's good at that. But the other two, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, you don't have to give those guys the ball up the middle, or even, you can throw it to them. And, that's as good as running. And I like that flexibility. What do you think about that? Get those guys out on the edges and get them in the passing game more if it's going to be tough sledding in the middle.
Yeah, so I mean, at its foundation, what a run really is a safe way. It protects your downside and gives you a good high upside. You want to get yards, even if it's 2-3 yards. You're getting yards running the ball. But a short pass, the swing passes and the screens, they work in the same way where it's a low risk, high reward type play. And you see Donovan Edwards, what he's been able to do, all the way going back to the Maryland game, he's an absolute threat. And, passing game is matchups. So you have a receiver against a corner. Maybe that's a little bit more balanced. Of course, I'm biased. That sometimes if you can get a good tight end against a linebacker, you start to get this gap. Then you get a guy like Donovan Edwards against a linebacker. That's where you can really have a big gap from a matchup standpoint. Can you exploit that? Can you expose it? We'll see what the game plan is in that sense. But it's going to be a group effort, as it's been the whole year. You've seen a different guy seemingly step up every single week. And once again, we're going to be knocking on the door where we need everybody to step up and play their best game. I'm excited for it, though. These guys, they've stepped up to the challenge the entire year, and the challenge continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that they're going to go out there and be prepared and play a hell of a game, and got a really good chance against a good Georgia team.
Well, Jake, let's talk about your forte, your position. You mentioned them, the tight ends. Of course, Georgia, leading receiver, leading touchdown maker is their tight end. So Michigan will really have to zero in and do a good job on the Dogs tight end. I'm interested in what you think of the Michigan tight ends. Eric All, we talk with people in the media, and last year heading into the season, you talk to people and say, man, Eric All, the guy, he's everything you wanted a tight end. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's making so many plays in practice. And then you say, but the guy loves the game. Nobody loves the game more than than Eric All. And then he had some problems with a few drops, but did he put it all together this year? Obviously made the great play against Penn State that people will remember forever. And then Schoonmaker has just come along now where, I saw him at one of the press conferences like 2 weeks ago, and I said, man, that guy, he's over there, his arms this big around, and what a target, man. What about these two tight ends? And they've come on here. Obviously.
I mean, you see it in the Big Ten championship, the flashy plays, the one-hand catches, but both of them made an awesome, spectacular one-hand catch. Eric has really stepped up in the passing game. That Michigan State game, when he wasn't really healthy, I mean, he's having double-digit catches, big time player. And that's really what you need. A quarterback like Cade, man, he's going to hit you if you're open. He's not afraid to just, take easy passes over the middle. And that's where these tight ends have been most dangerous. So I think that's been impressive, but really what's most impressive is their run blocking. And it's kind of like, it kind of goes under the radar a little bit. But if you're a football fan, I like to watch the offensive line. Like, can the line of scrimmage move downfield? Can they just wash the defensive line back? And then you see these tight ends, they're running a lot of inserts where they're kind of off the ball and they have to insert in one of those A, B, C gaps, and they're meeting the linebacker. It's just head on head. Watch the defenders head snap back every time they do it. They put the crown of their helmet right on the linebacker's chin. It snaps back. At some point, you're going to take a man's will. At some point, that linebacker is going to turn his head and give you a shoulder. And that's when you know you got him. And, I mean, Georgia, they're always talented. They're always big. They're always strong. They're always fast. It's going to be another test for these guys. But they've shown me nothing to say that they're not going to be ready to step up. Just proud of that group. Obviously, being a tight end, I love to watch them play. But they play so damn hard. And that's something that can't be coached. You either got it or you don't. You either love the game of football or you don't. Those guys empty the tank every single day, every single opportunity they have to take the field, and they're being rewarded for it, which is awesome to see.
You see him there on the screen if you're listening. Jake Butt, All-American at Michigan, and we'll ask about what he's doing nowadays here in a couple minutes. This seems like, a game where the momentum that Michigan had at the end of the year, sure, they have to pause and go through bowl practices and everything else. But my thought here is that when you have success like that, now you take it to the practice field and you get into bowl prep and you're getting ready to take on, Georgia and then maybe Alabama or Cincinnati. It's like your confidence and just where they're at heading in. I don't think there's going to be, any cutoff of the momentum. But I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Cade McNamara. Michigan has played J.J. McCarthy, and what we did see in the SEC championship game is the I guess we say now the Heisman Trophy winner was weaving in and out. He was moving the pocket around. He was running right up to the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was fabulous making plays. You think Michigan has a few things up their sleeve here to whether it's move the pocket with McNamara or come in with the McCarthy package where, you know, I don't know if he's doing his best Bryce Young impersonation or if he just has to be J.J. McCarthy. But what do you think the plan is for the quarterbacks if, you're Jim Harbaugh and Josh Gaddis and company?
Why change what you've had so much success with this entire season? And the quarterback position is a lot more than just raw talent or ability. I think what Cade's best attribute is his leadership and understanding of the total offensive scheme, as well as what the defense is presenting you to get everybody lined up and in the right positions. That's how you scheme yourself to an advantage pre-snap. You know, if you have a talented quarterback, and I'm not saying this is the case with JJ, he's just a younger guy, and what he's been asked to do, he's excelled in. It's a great problem to have two good quarterbacks. But what you absolutely see with Cade is his ability to check plays on the line. You go back to the Ohio State game, it's 3rd and 1. He gets everybody lined up, and they go on 2. The Buckeye defender jumps, he snaps the ball. It's a free play. You see Aaron Rodgers do it all the time, and you get a free shot down the field, move the chains. That's what's Cade's best ability, and it's something that it's not flashy. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet. People don't talk about it enough. Let Cade get out there. Let him get everybody lined up. Let him make the necessary checks and audibles at the line and the proper reads. And, you know, one thing about, again, this Georgia defense, you're not just going to be able to take them up top on explosive plays. Sometimes you have to have the discipline to hit your check down and take the 3 to 5 yard check down. Sometimes you'll break a tackle and it'll turn into more, but you can't go broke taking a profit. Sometimes you just have to let the game slowly build. And eventually, once you're taking these shorter passes, then you have those timely shots over top. Cade is extremely disciplined in his reads, his checks, his knowledge. I think that's his best attribute. And you know, I don't see us getting away from that, especially in the biggest stage.
Jack, let me take you back just a couple weeks. Where were you for the Michigan-Ohio State game?
I was sitting right behind the bench. I was in the stadium.
All right. Well, what was that? You know, you played against Ohio State, and now you're behind the bench. What was that experience like?
Oh man, it's beautiful, and the snow's falling. It was magical. You know, like, and it's Thanksgiving weekend. Like, you remember growing up on Thanksgiving. You know, Grandma puts the turkey in the oven. It's snowing outside. All your aunts and uncles are in town. You know, even if you had no idea what sports were, you'd probably pick up a stick and start playing football in the backyard. It just feels like football season, you know? And that game just felt like football. And we rose to the challenge. That was the best part to see is, you know, even after the game, Ohio State's talking about they had a flu outbreak or, you know, it was snowing, it was cold. No one cares. No one cares. You either did or you didn't. You either get it done or you don't. Those guys stepped up to the challenge. My favorite moment was in the end zone, Roman Wilson and a Buckeye defender getting a little scuffle. And, you know, they're back and forth. I didn't even see it initially. And you see the whole offense and the whole Buckeye defense are, you know, they're meeting, they're jawing at each other. And there's like a buzz in the stadium and everybody's waiting. The refs are talking. There's just a buzz. What's going to happen? As that's happened, and again, I'm sitting right behind the Michigan bench, a couple, you know, Aiden Hutchinson, also a number of Michigan's offensive linemen and some of their skill positions come running over to us. They rip off their helmets. They start pumping up the crowd. The whole crowd just goes nuts, like, you know? And it was just this, it's what they've done all season. It's when they are jumping around in Wisconsin, you know? They're singing in Nebraska. Like, hey, man, we're going to own the moment. They owned that moment. It was just the coolest thing in the world, man. I mean, I legitimately got tears in my eyes. I'm like, this is special, and it means something for these guys. And what a game for Jim, too, Coach Harbaugh. You know, finally getting that monkey off his back. He's a hell of a coach. He's had a lot of success, but he takes a lot of banter publicly, and he takes it in stride. So it's great to see him finally win that game and get the recognition he deserves. That was the big one that needed to happen, especially with the Ryan Day. We're going to hang 100 on him, and now you got the Buckeye. They don't know how to act. It's hilarious, honestly, to see them falling apart. They say we're disrespectful, like Desmond's disrespectful for what he said at the Heisman ceremony. They call us scum year round. Get over yourselves, man. It's part of the rivalry. Thank goodness, you know, we're on the right side of it. All things are right back in the world at this point. So it was a great game to see.
It does feel like that. I was a little worried watching it on TV, that sequence you're talking about, because, you know, I know they have the cameras in the in the huddle, and then down through the years, they're just looking for the players going back and forth and jaw jacking. And as a player, you got to know, like, hey, I get involved in this. I'm going to be immortalized for the next 100 years. They'll be showing me, but the one part, and I don't know if you saw it, like the ref got, they were trying to separate him, and the next thing you know, the ref went down, and I'm thinking, I thought that there would just be unsportsmanlike on both sides, but when you start getting the ref taking a spill and you get everybody in the, I'm thinking, man, who knows who's going to get thrown out. In the end, don't rip off somebody's helmet. It's not the first one with Rowan Wilson just grabbing onto an ankle. Right. It's the second one throwing off the helmet. So that part ended up working out. I wanted to ask you, everybody remembers your time at Michigan, and then you've been working in the pros here, but I've seen you doing some media things here, and it's pretty easy to see. And just talking with you here for 10-15 minutes, pretty obvious that you're a star doing this. I mean, is this something you're going to keep doing?
It's an itch, man. And the transition away from ball it's difficult. You're kind of trying to find yourself. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do at this point. Started doing some podcasts with Isaiah Hull. Started, doing radio interviews, Sirius XM, Big Ten Network, ESPN. It's a passion, man. It really is. I really, really enjoy doing it. When I watch the game of football, and it's not just Michigan, I watch it with almost a coach's eye, like a player's eye. Like, yeah, you see the big run, but I'm seeing, why did it happen? Like, wow, did you see that double team front side? Did you see them displace that defensive lineman? Did you see our linebacker or our receiver blocking 30 yards downfield? That's how they sprung for the touchdown. That's how I watch the game of football. So if you ever, you're ever in the living room with me watching football, your football IQ is going to go up because I'm constantly analyzing it in that sense. And it feels natural to me, and I really enjoyed it doing it. And, I started to see that, hey, maybe I could get paid to do this. I mean, sounds like a dream come true. If you find something you love to do, you never work a day in your life. We'll see where that goes. I'm going to keep pressing into it. Hopefully we'll have something more concrete by next season. But for now, I'm enjoying doing these kind of things, obviously enjoying Michigan football success. I really love it.
Well, if you can work with Hull, then, that's like 2 a days. You've come through that, man. You're all good. No, he does a good job. Yeah. What are you going to do so we're sitting here on a Friday, so we got Christmas Eve next week. And so we're 2 weeks away here for the college football playoff. Let me just ask you, I'll give you a couple quick hitters. The bowl preparation, people ask me, and I didn't know the answer to this. I didn't think there was anything to it, but you're always looking for every single angle media-wise, just like you're talking about as a former player. Harbaugh won his first bowl game, but then did not have the success in the bowl games. And, Michigan wasn't in one last year. Do you think preparation-wise or anything that, they might look back and want to tweak something or change something up heading into this Final Four, or is that just something that is just kind of matters what's going on?
You always tweak it, and that's where a good coach really understands his team. If you have a veteran team, maybe you can pull back a little bit. We hit it really, really hard my senior year in bowl prep, and that happened to be the game I tore my ACL. We were going really, really hard, and we were a senior heavy team. 11 dudes got drafted. I think almost all of our starters made all Big Ten honors at some level. So there's a balance of working hard, ensuring your players are healthy and fresh, and making sure everybody's prepared for the game. And you get better at that every year. You get more comfortable with your players every year. I think you look at the big difference this year is the stride Jim has taken as a leader and as a coach, and that trickles down throughout the entire program. So I expect him to, for him to raise his own bar in the bowl prep and get these guys really ready and really fine tune that balance. Another thing to consider, Dan Lemming, Georgia defensive coordinator. A lot of rumors he might be becoming the Oregon head coach. Seems like that's a foregone conclusion already, and they're just trying to keep it under wraps. You can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out in this profession, man. You got to be all in, especially on this big stage. Maybe, it's like the Art of War by Sun Tzu. Do you divide and conquer? It's really, that's like one of the oldest tactics in the book to try to give yourself an advantage. I wonder where his head's at, if he's already, is he doing recruiting for Oregon? Is he already out of the door? Be an interesting narrative to see play out in the game.
I'm all for chaos for the Dogs. I mean, if we're really talking, let me ask you one more thing. You talked about, your bowl game there. with the NIL, I was hoping, and maybe it will happen. Like, you get, of course, no Michigan players would sit out going into a college football playoff, but we've already seen some other players like Kenneth Walker decide not to go to the Peach Bowl. It seems like Michigan State, some sort of insurance broker or somebody, a policy should be set up and should be paid for these guys. If they really wanted to play in these games, I mean, it can happen. I know you went out there and played, and but I would think, I mean, it's a different world now than even when you played, but I would think that those premiums or policies could be paid for by the school, where it couldn't happen back when you were playing.
So, well, actually, I mean, and we could have a whole show on this alone, and I'm well versed in it because of my experience. The school can pay for it. The school can pay for your insurance policy. Typically, you get it before the season starts, and the way it works is they, whatever insurance company you're working with does a mock draft, and they gather information. They slot you where you would have got drafted. So for me, they said I would have been the 35th pick in the draft. From there, you take the contract value, and since insurance claims aren't taxed, you divide it in two. And then if you get injured and it's proven your injury was the reason you slipped, it pays you the difference. Now, so the school could have paid for it. The thing is, if the school pays for the insurance policy, now that it becomes a gift, and the payout is taxed. So that's an interesting thing. I paid for mine out of pocket. That's why I was able to collect on it non-tax. But at some point, man, I would have made more money and obviously had a longer, healthier career had I not got hurt in the bowl game. And, I was saying this on my Twitter today. It's all a risk reward analysis, and people are like, well, why even play at all in the season if you're not going to play in the bowl game? Because for a guy like Kenneth Walker, he wasn't where he is now to start the season. You have a body of work that you can put together throughout the entire year. You can greatly improve your draft status. Okay, can he really improve his draft status more by playing in this bowl game? Maybe incrementally. The downside risk of getting injured far outweighs the potential small upside by playing in the game, and he's doing it for free. And another thing people don't even consider, there's no insurance at school. They'll pay for your surgery, but not your knee replacement when you need it when you're 40 years old. They don't have any disability or workers' comp. And then if you're injured when you enter the NFL, rather than being on the roster, you're on something called NFI. It's non-football injury. My rookie year, they technically didn't have to pay my salary because I got hurt outside the NFL. The Broncos did right by me, but I had no insurance, no benefits, no 401k match, no pension, no nothing that year. So it's a way more complicated scenario than what people like to, say it is in the media. It runs deep. Let the kids make the choice for themselves. Loyalty. Where was Brian Kelly's loyalty? They had a chance to potentially go to the college football playoffs. He's out. You see that happen all the time. There's no loyalty anymore in college football. It's everybody looking out for themselves. It's very rare when you do have loyalty, and I think Michigan's got about as close to loyalty as you can ever have as a football team in today's world. But let the guys make the best decision for themselves. There's a lot of people that throw stones from a glass house. They don't know what it'd be like to be staring $6 million down the barrel and say, hey, oh yeah, I'm going to go play for the love of the game. Trust me. I did that. And I wouldn't change my decision, but there's a lot of sleepless nights, man, thinking about what could have been or what would have been,
Fascinating. I could listen to you talk about that all day long. I am going to correct you though, moving forward. If you're going to talk about Coach Kelly, you kind of got to slow down and start talking a little bit like that, how Coach would appreciate things if you're going to.
Well, it's his new accent, right? I mean, I didn't realize he had another accent, he dipped a little bit deeper in his bag with the y'all and the Southern accent, but man, whatever works for you, you got to do what you got to do as a head coach. So
he sure did. Now I'll ask you the final question. I made my early pick, I didn't pick Michigan against Ohio State. Unfortunately, I have to admit that I picked Ohio State, although I thought Michigan would keep it close. And I thought, there was a path for them to win the game if they got it to the fourth quarter and just were able to make some plays. And I regret not picking them. I do think after watching them then play in the Big Ten championship game and looking at Georgia, it feels like, they deserve, the recognition, or for people just saying, hey, look, doubters, pick them. But I kind of feel like the same way. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. They can get to the fourth quarter. I think they can beat Georgia. Yeah. How are you looking at it? I know it's tough when you played for Michigan, everybody loves you, All-American and everything else. They're thinking, Butt's going to pick Michigan for sure. So how do you look at it?
I'll brag a little bit here. I called the game. If I do get into broadcasting, Ohio State, Michigan, I had Michigan winning 40-32, which was pretty damn close to the actual score. So my analysis, if you guys are looking for it, go check out the YouTube.
Wow.
I was pretty spot on with that analysis, and the score played out. And again, you never know, especially in these tight games. You never know. I would say that Michigan, the gap between Georgia's defense and Michigan's offense is a little bit more favorable than the gap between Georgia's offense and our defense. They got a little bit of questions at quarterback. They're going back and forth. I don't know if they fully trust their guy. And one thing that'll get in your head as a quarterback, having a potential top 5 pick, screaming off the edge and hitting you in your chest with another top, 15 pick on the other side. So I think that's going to be the story of the game. Can Michigan's offense find some cracks in the Georgia defense, put up points? Again, the key for us all season, we win the games when we score 7 points in the red zone and don't kick field goals. I love Jake Moody. I think he was an All-American. Let's give him an off day and let him keep kicking extra points. I think Michigan can ultimately win this game. If I'm a betting man, I think Michigan's +7 right now. I like that bet a lot. I think I'm going to stick with Michigan 30-23 to give Michigan the edge in this game.
30-23. It sounds great. Well, Jake, I tell you, enjoyed watching you play at Michigan, rooted for you in the NFL. And it was only last year I heard an interview with you and you were talking about, hey, I'm going back out there. Said all the right things, man. It was hard not to root for you, even if you weren't a Michigan fan. Listening to you, like, man, I'm rooting for this guy for sure. And it's not a surprise that, you're having success now. And as predictions go, I'll predict that you'll be a media superstar. So you got that going for you.
Hey, we can look back at this interview one day and hopefully look back and say, hey, this is the beginning of it all. So I'm looking forward to it, 3-5 years down the line. Thanks for having me. Anytime, I'm here. I love talking Michigan football. Anytime, I can do anything for you guys, have me on. It's great practice. I love to talk about it and appreciate you having me on today.
Great job, Jake. Take care. Enjoy the New Year's. The rest 2 weeks.